Hi guys, my name's Morag and I'm going to read you a Christmas poem in a bit, but before I do, I'd just like to remind you that if you can, it would be awesome if you could donate to the Wood Street Mission. I know that at the moment this is a bit of a rubbish time of year for people, but any little bit that you've got can go towards that charity who work with children and families in Salford and Manchester. So any little bit that you've got, if we all pull a little bit together, then you know we're going to end up being able to do something amazing. So that'd be brilliant if you can. Cheers. Okay, so the story is called Russell the Reindeer and it's been written by Steph Lacey. Are you ready? The North Pole was quiet, not a single sound. There were no elves in sight, not one to be found. How very strange, Russell the Reindeer said. He looked around and shook his head. Where on earth can everybody be? Surely they can't have left without me. Russell the Reindeer was new to Santa's team. Rudolph was having Christmas off, you see. He works hard every year with Santa's flock, but this year Rudolph wanted to become a star on TikTok. Anyway, Russell couldn't see anyone and felt alarmed. Then, all of a sudden, he noticed a big barn. As he got closer, Russell could hear people working. He opened the barn door to see who was lurking. Pass that one here! Move quicker! Elves shouted, and checked every single present in the sleigh was counted. Thank goodness, Russell thought, wiping snow from his face. But an angry little elf said, Oi, Russell, you're late. Angry little elf rushed Russell to the sleigh inside. Always messing up our production line. I'm sorry, Russell said. He meant it with all of his heart. But, he said, before he could finish what he was saying, the angry little elf was already darting away. Excuse me, Mr. Elf, Russell the reindeer cried out. I need to talk to you. But the elf ignored his shout. Russell said hi to the other reindeer. Donna and Blitzen didn't hear at all. They were warming up, doing stretches against the wall. That looks weird, he thought in his head. So he tried to talk to Dasher and Dancer instead. Hi guys, I'm Russell. I'm new round here, but I need some help or else I fear... But once again, he was stopped from what he was saying. We can't hear you, Dash said. We've got music playing. He tried once again. Please, could you help me, Vixen? But she was on Minecraft. Sorry, this wall needs fixing. Prancer and Comet both ignored him too. But Comet said, before we start travelling, have you all been to the loo? Russell was getting frustrated. His last chance was Cupid. And he shouted, I really need some help before we go, or I'm going to look so stupid. I really don't want things to go wrong, but if I don't get some help, that won't take very long. But Cupid just stared weirdly, not blinking at all. He let out a big "Bleh!" and then just looked at the wall. Santa arrived and they all whooped and cheered. He said, let's go quick. This nice list is long this year. Now, because Russell was filling in for Rudolph, he was right in the lead, and he led the other reindeer over land and seas. They swerved past birds, avoided some trees. They jingled their bells with Christmas glee. They got Santa to each chimney for him to take presents down and hurried to reach all the roofs, town after town. Come on, Santa said, let's get all the children their presents so everyone's Christmas is happy and pleasant. So they all bounded on through the air in a hurry, but Russell the reindeer really started to worry. He was up there in front, and it soon became clear. Russell didn't know where he was going. He had no idea. It'll be fine, he thought. I'll just keep going. But he'd flown them into the middle of nowhere without knowing. The rest of the team gave funny looks, all confused. They scratched their heads, bemused. The reindeer said, "I don't think this is right. There are no houses, no Christmas lights. Russell, I think we might be lost. Do you know where we are? There have been no houses for ages, and we've been really far." Russell couldn't talk. He felt very silly. He put his head down and felt so guilty. So the whole team stopped. Santa asked, "What's wrong? Russell, what is it? What's going on?" Russell said, "This is exactly what I was trying to say. The battery on my sat-nav ran out. I don't know the way. I needed a charger, but no one would listen. I hoped I would just guess the way. I've been hoping and wishing. But I'm very sorry," he said. "I've let you down." Russell's lips started to wobble. His face started to frown. Russell explained what had happened, and Santa understood. "These things happen," he said. "It will all come good." And then something happened that took him by surprise. One by one, every reindeer started to apologise. They said, "We are so sorry. We were too busy doing our own thing," and that they really should have listened to him. This meant so much to Russell and filled him with joy. The present of friendship was worth more than any toy. And that was lovely and all, but they were all still lost, up in the cold air, shivering and covered in frost. Santa suddenly had an idea. Ding, ding, ding! And he jumped headfirst into his sleigh, searching for something. "Ha ha! Here it is. Thank goodness Timmy asked for a map." "Well, that's convenient," Russell said. "Fancy that." So the whole team worked together to make things right and delivered every single present before the morning light. No child would ever know of their disastrous night. Wait, you're not going to say anything, right? That was a brilliant poem, wasn't it, by Steph Lacey? So I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a brilliant 2021. The end.
Hello, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. My name is Dean Fagan and I'm so happy to be here reading you a Christmas story for the Wood Street Mission, helping underprivileged kids all around Greater Manchester. I'm about to read a story called The Clumsy Elf, written by a lovely person by the name of Lindsay Cullen. So, let's get started. Marzipan was a clumsy elf. She didn't mean to be, of course. No one means to be clumsy, especially not elves. They don't have time to be. But Marzi couldn't help it. No matter how hard she tried, she always seemed to do something clumsy in Santa's workshop. She burnt the chestnuts, knocked over the Christmas tree, spilled milk on the nice list, and tangled the tinsel. And worst of all, Marzi was terrible at making toys. She spilt the paint, lost the parts, broke the boxes, and ruined the wrapping. It was no use. Marzi just didn't fit in with the other elves. Then one Christmas Eve, when all the other elves were busy making the final preparations for Christmas, Marzi sat out in the snow and cried. "I'm terrible at being an elf," she sobbed. "I can't do anything right." "No, no," said a deep, jolly voice. Marzi turned around to see Santa standing behind her. "Don't cry, Marzipan. Perhaps you're not meant to make the toys. Perhaps you're meant to deliver them." "Really?" asked Marzi. "You'd let me deliver the presents?" Santa smiled. "Well, I do have an awful lot to deliver in one night. I could certainly do with some help. What do you say?" "Oh, I'd love to," said Marzi. "But what if I do something clumsy?" "Oh, you don't have to worry about that," assured Santa. "I'll be with you the entire time." Marzie couldn't believe her luck. "Well, in that case," replied Marzie, "I'd love to help." Santa was thrilled. He sent for his spare sleigh and had it loaded up with presents. Then he showed Marzie how to steer the reindeer, how to read the map, and how to slide down the chimney. Lastly, Santa showed Marzie how to push the lever that opened the back of the sleigh so she could unload all the presents at each house. Then once it got dark and the first stars appeared in the night sky, Santa and Marzie set off. Santa in his sleigh and Marzie in hers. Together they flew through the night and delivered presents all over the world. They worked their way around every house, every chimney, and every door. Marzie landed on rooftops and climbed down chimneys. She filled up the stockings and hid the presents under the Christmas trees. Finally, it seemed like Marzie had found something she was good at. Eventually, Santa and Marzie came to their last stop of the night, Manchester. As they soared down over Heaton Park, Santa flew his sleigh next to Marzie's and called across to her, "Marzie, I think you've done so well tonight that you deserve the chance to deliver presents on your own." Marzie couldn't believe it. "Really?" she smiled. "Absolutely," replied Santa. "Let's split up and meet back here at the park when you're finished." And with that, Santa flew away on his sleigh and disappeared over the city. "Right," thought Marzie. "Now's my chance to prove once and for all that I am not a clumsy elf." Marzie checked the nice list, pulled out her map, and set to work. She zigzagged her way all over Manchester and delivered presents to almost all the children on her list. Before she knew it, she only had one stop left, the children's home. Santa always made sure there were extra presents for the children at the home because they didn't have mummies or daddies to share Christmas with. Marzie found the children's home on the map and leaned over the edge of the sleigh to look down and check where she was. When, clunk, the door on the back of the sleigh dropped open. "Oops," cried Marzie. "I must have been leaning on the lever." Splash, splash, splash. "What's that noise?" wondered Marzie as she looked down the river well below. "Oh no! All the presents have fallen into the river!" Marzie cried as she watched them sink one by one and disappear under the water. "Why, oh why am I such a clumsy elf?" she sobbed. Meanwhile, somewhere far below Marzie and her sleigh, William and Victoria were fast asleep in their bunk beds when, crash! The children were woken up with a fright. "What was that?" cried Victoria. "I don't know," said William. "Maybe it's Santa." William and Victoria leaped out of bed and ran to the bedroom window, where they saw Marzie in her sleigh outside. "It's Santa's sleigh!" cried William with excitement. "But wait a minute," said Victoria. "That's not Santa. That's an elf. And she's crying." Victoria opened the window and called out to Marzie. Excuse me, little elf. Are you okay?" Marzie turned to see William and Victoria at their bedroom window. "No," she cried. "My name's Marzipan and I've dropped all the presents into the river and now the children at the home won't have any." "Oh no," cried Victoria. "Quick, William, we have to go and help." The children threw on their dressing gowns and sneaked downstairs so that they wouldn't wake their parents. They opened the living room door to see a huge pile of presents underneath their Christmas tree. Santa must have already been. "Come on," whispered Victoria. "We need to give the presents to the children's home. Otherwise, their Christmas will be ruined." "Good idea," whispered William. So, they gathered up all their presents, carried them outside to Marsie, who was still sat crying in her sleigh. "Here you go, Marzipan," said William. "Our names are William and Victoria. Will you please take your presents for the children at the home?" "They need them more than we do," added Victoria. "Oh my goodness," sniffed Marsie as she wiped away her tears. "That's so kind of you. But I still don't think it will be enough." "Oh dear," sighed Victoria. "If only there was more of us. Then we'd have more presents." Marsie suddenly perked up. "That's it," she cried. "Quick, follow me." Marsie jumped out of her sleigh, ran to the neighbour's house and banged on the door. After a moment, Timmy and his mummy answered. "Oh my," gasped Timmy's mummy. "What on earth are two children and an elf doing out at this time of the night?" "It's all my fault," cried Marsie, and she explained how she'd lost all the presents for the children at the home. "Oh no," cried Timmy. "That's terrible." So Timmy ran to his Christmas tree, picked up the biggest present and handed it to Marsie. "Here, take this to the children at the home," said Timmy. "Wow, thank you so much," replied Marsie. "Have a very Merry Christmas." And with that, Marsie, William and Victoria hurried to the next house on the street where Mila and her parents lived. Once again, Marsie explained how she'd been a clumsy elf and lost all the presents for the children at the home. And just like Timmy, Mila gave Marsie one of her presents too. Then Marsie, William and Victoria went to the next house, and the next, and the next. And before they knew it, they had been to so many houses and so many children had given them a present that the sleigh was full. Marsie had more presents than she'd lost. "Come on," cried Marsie. "We've got to deliver these before the morning." Wait," said Victoria. "You want us to come too?" "Of course," smiled Marsie. "I couldn't have done it without you two." "Oh, brilliant," cried William. "We get to go on a sleigh ride." William and Victoria jumped in the sleigh and Marsie took off into the sky. They flew through the clouds, under the stars and over the city until they reached the children's home, where they landed quietly on the roof. Marsie jumped out of the sleigh, slid down the chimney, just like Santa showed her. Then one by one, William and Victoria passed the presents down to Marsie, who sneaked past the children's beds as they slept and piled the presents underneath the tree. Once she was done, Marsie clambered back up the chimney and jumped back into the sleigh with William and Victoria. "Thank you so much for your help," said Marsie. "Now Christmas has been saved for all the children in the home." "You're welcome, Marsie," said Victoria. "It was your idea. We're just glad we could help." "Well, I'd better get you home before your parents wake up," said Marsie. "But first, let's have a little fun." And with that, Marsie flew the sleigh all over Manchester. She skimmed the snow off the rooftops and did loop-the-loops. Then she flew so low that through the streets the children could almost touch the Christmas lights. Marsie showed William and Victoria every corner of the city before they finally landed back outside their front door. "Wow! Thank you," laughed Victoria. "That was such fun," cried William. "Oh, you're welcome," said Marsie. "Now I have to go meet Santa before the morning." "But wait," said Victoria. "We have a present for you." "For me?" asked puzzled Marsie. So, William and Victoria jumped out of the sleigh and ran into the house. A moment later, they came back outside with paper crayons and a glue stick. Victoria took a big red crayon and wrote, "Do not touch," on the paper and stuck it to the lever in the sleigh. "There," said Victoria. "Now you won't be a clumsy anymore." Marsie was thrilled. It's perfect, she said. It's the best present I could have ever been given. You're welcome, Marsie, said Victoria. Merry Christmas, cried William. Merry Christmas, William and Victoria, said Marsie, as she took off in her sleigh. Thanks for everything. The children waved to Marsie till she disappeared high into the sky and out of sight. Then he sneaked back into the house and crawled into bed, ready for Christmas morning. Meanwhile, Marsie raced through the sky and across the city to meet Santa at the park. When she arrived, Santa was already waiting. So, how'd it go, Marsie? Asked Santa. Did you deliver all the presents? Well, whimpered Marsie. To be honest, I was a bit clumsy. Santa looked worried. But did you deliver presents to all the children? He asked. Well, yes, said Marsie. All the children got the presents. Santa let out a massive sigh of relief. Then it doesn't matter that you were clumsy, he laughed. Whatever happened, you fixed it. So I'd say you were the perfect elf for delivering presents. Marsie smiled. Come along, said Santa. Let's get back to the workshop before morning. And with that, Santa and Marsie took off in their sleighs. Marsie, yelled Santa, would you like to help me deliver presents again next year? Marsie looked down to see the lights on the houses switched on one by one as children all over the city woke up for Christmas. I'd love to, she smiled. And with that, they soared through the sky all the way back to the North Pole. Santa and Marzipan, the not so clumsy elf.
Ho, 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 ho!